Cave cartographer noticed his ink turned red only when mapping one specific tunnel. When he tried to digitalize the map, the software crashed, leaving a single GPS coordinate in the middle of solid rock. This single coordinate would lead to a discovery that defies modern geology. In 1994, a professional underground surveyor named Thomas was hired to map a newly discovered cavern deep beneath the Appalachian Trail. The entrance was a narrow limestone fissure, hidden behind thick brush 5 miles from the nearest paved road. Thomas had spent 15 years crawling through the tightest, darkest spaces in North America. To him, this was just another routine mapping job. He carried his standard gear, a laser rangefinder, a compass, a mechanical pencil, and high-grade waterproof paper. The air inside the cavern held steady at 54 degrees. But as Thomas descended deeper, the atmosphere changed. The natural damp smell of wet stone faded, replaced by something sharp and dry. On his first day, he mapped 200 yards of a gently sloping main passage. Everything was normal. The paper remained clean, and his pencil lines were sharp. On the second day, Thomas reached a junction. To the left, the cave continued downward. To the right, a narrow, perfectly straight passage stretched into the dark. He turned right. As he stepped into this northernmost passage, his headlamp flickered. He tapped the battery pack, and the light stabilized. He took out his notebook and drew a straight line representing the left wall. That was when the first anomaly occurred. The dark graphite line began to spread. It softened, expanding into a wet smudge. Thomas wiped his finger across it, expecting grease, but his skin came away dry. The paper itself felt thin, almost like damp skin. He assumed the humidity was affecting his paper and switched to an archival ink pen. But as he drew the opposite wall, the black ink turned a deep rust red. It did not bleed outward. It pooled in the center of the line, rising slightly off the page. Thomas touched the red line. It was warm. He retreated to the main junction, and within minutes, the red ink dried back into dull black. The next morning, Thomas returned with 3 types of paper and 5 different pens. The air in the northern passage was warmer now and carried a faint scent of sulfur. He placed a fresh sheet of synthetic waterproof paper on his clipboard and drew a single line. Within 10 seconds, the paper warped. It puckered and bubbled as if exposed to extreme heat, though the air was barely 60 degrees. The ink turned red, then dark, oily brown. The edges of the paper yellowed and rotted. A smell like decaying organic matter rose from the clipboard. Thomas dropped the pen and watched as the drawing of the northern passage literally decayed, turning into brittle gray ash that crumbled onto the cave floor. The rest of the map remained perfectly intact. Thomas decided to abandon physical drawing. He returned to his cabin and entered his precise laser measurements and GPS coordinates into digital mapping software. The moment he entered the coordinates for the northern passage, his monitor went black. The hard drive shrieked, a high-pitched whine like metal grinding on metal. When the system rebooted, the software was gone. A single set of coordinates flashed on the screen, pointing to a location 300 feet directly above him, in solid, unbroken rock. But what Thomas found in the archives would make him seal that cave forever. Thomas spent the next 3 days in the county archives, digging through land deeds and mining records from the late 19th century. What he found made his blood run cold. In 1882, a small coal mining company had operated an unregistered shaft in that exact sector of the mountain. The archives contained a hand-drawn map of the old mine workings. Thomas overlaid his GPS coordinates onto the historical map. They matched perfectly. The northernmost passage was running directly parallel to, and slightly below, the deepest shaft of the abandoned coal mine. In November of 1884, 30 miners had descended into that shaft for their morning shift. At noon, a massive cave-in sealed the entrance. The company spent 2 weeks digging, but the rock was too unstable. The rescue effort was abandoned, and the 30 men were left behind, sealed in the dark. According to the official report, the miners had survived for at least 5 days. They had tried to dig their way out through the limestone. They were heading downward toward what they believed was an open cavern system. They ran out of air just feet away from breakthrough. Thomas realized the terrifying truth. The northern passage he was trying to map was the exact space where those 30 men had spent their final hours clawing at the stone. The shape of the passage he was drawing was the shape of their desperate escape tunnel. He returned to the cave one last time, carrying no paper and no pens. He stood at the entrance of the northern passage, turned off his headlamp, and listened. In the absolute silence of the deep earth, he did not hear dripping water. He heard a sound like dry paper scraping against stone, rhythmic and slow, coming from the end of the dark corridor. He turned his light back on, packed his gear, and sealed the entrance with heavy rocks. He never went back. The map remains unfinished, a blank space on the regional survey. Some things in the deep earth are not meant to be recorded, and some paths are meant to stay lost in the dark. Would you follow a map that doesn't want to be drawn? Tell us in the comments.